Hi, this is Wendy V, and I am recording this video for you because you are working with my impact sheet. This tip sheet is something that I created for people who have a business or a nonprofit that makes an impact and that they can describe to their audiences what that means and how they should invest in them further. So whether you're a nonprofit looking for donors and volunteers or people to serve, or you are a business and you're looking for clients to come and get your services, either of these groups are people that want to know about the impact that you're making every year. Now, this also is something that you can share with investors or people who are potential funders. If you were looking for grant programs or grant funding, there's a lot of programs that you can apply to where they ask you what your impact is. And if you are not tracking it or you do not know how to describe it, that can be a problem. So this tip sheet is something that can help you year over year when you're trying to describe your impact to various audiences. But it's also something that you can use to figure out exactly what impact you are making that you want to describe to a very important audience, like, for example, a funder or a grant program. So those are the kinds of things that we use this impact-based work for. And when we're communicating our work in terms of impact, there's a couple of tips that I'm going to give you in the tip sheet that I want to call attention to now. First and foremost, you have to know who your audience is. So if you're not sure who you are trying to communicate this information to, I would first think about, when you're doing this work, a brainstorm of who you are going to communicate and why you want to communicate about your impact to this audience. Now, the people that you communicate with are going to be people who are either already invested in you and know who you are, or are meeting you for the first time. And these people are maybe even people that they know who you are, but they're not yet invested in you, right? So there's a lot of different options of people that you'll encounter. And when you're writing this information and preparing the information, you want to give it to people in a way that's simple, that uses plain language, that's very straightforward and honest and direct, and also doesn't misrepresent your work. So these are important principles when you are sharing your impact, because these things allow you to connect better with your audience, to build rapport with them, and that they know they can trust the information coming from you. When they know, like, and trust you, then they're more likely to work with you or invest in you. So if you are trying to get people closer to you that you already know, or you are trying to get people to invest in you for the first time, and talking about your impact and conveying your impact over year is really important. So these are the tips that I'm going to start with, and then we're going to go right into the tip sheet. So I want to show you what this resource is. This is a PDF that you likely downloaded from Google Drive or from some location, my website or wherever. And this tip sheet is something I designed in 3 pages for you to use, and it's a PDF, and you can download the PDF and write on it if you want. If you have an iPad and you want to use GoodNotes, you can actually write directly in the PDF as well. So this is going to be what we look like right now talking about this PDF. Okay, so here is the PDF itself. We're going to make it a slightly smaller PDF so I can go through this. Here we go. So this is, for the purpose of this video, the first time I'm conveying this to folks, it is an end of the year impact tip sheet, but this is going to just be a tip sheet in general. So don't mind if the version that you have has a slightly different header. This is the version that we are using for a giveaway, and it's really something that I thought of for the purpose of the giveaway, but it has so much more applicability for other reasons. So there may be a different title on this tip sheet. It may look exactly the same. So here is the tip sheet that we're talking about how to convey your impact to important audiences. This is fascinating ways that you may not have heard of before that you need to start implementing right now to make sure that you are conveying this impact that you are already making to audiences who already want to hear about it. So first, we need to start with what kinds of things should you be conveying. There's a framework that I use with my clients to help them understand what making an impact is and what does that mean and how do you talk about it with people. And it's DPTD, dollars, people, time, and donations. So dollars and resources that you use to make an impact, people who you serve through your impact mission, time that you spend serving, and then of course that can include volunteering as well, and donations of goods, services, time, money, or other items that you've donated through your impact mission, or if you're a nonprofit that you've received. So important stories that take place within the realm of dollars, people, time, and donations, and we'll talk more about stories in a minute. The other thing to know is that as an organization, if you are serving others, you are likely not too small to discuss your impact. Some people think that I don't have that much to share, I don't have any information, I have no concrete data, or I haven't been collecting data. There's so many reasons why people say they can't do this. I want you to think about all of the reasons that you should be doing this, and then use those reasons to propel you past the excuses, because you can put any one of those things can have a system in place that can help you automatically get past that excuse. So whether it's collecting data for you automatically, or whether it's collecting stories and information through a campaign, there's so many different reasons why and ways that you can get past an excuse not to share your impact information. The other thing is sometimes people think that they didn't make that much of an impact, so it's not a great story to tell. Well, it's not that it's not a great story to tell, it's that if you are still a growing organization, that is what you need to be talking about, is the fact that you're still a growing organization, and while you're seeing a certain level of results, what do you actually need in order to grow to the next level and serve more people, which likely means more resources, money, time, and donations and people, right? So those are the kinds of things that we could talk about when we are discussing our impact. Now, the other part is that it's easier to measure your impact as you go along throughout the year. So you don't want to wait till the end of the year and then suddenly decide to go backwards and measure all your impact. You want to be tracking it over time. And even for my business, I forget to do this every month, and I try to remember, okay, let me go back and tally my people at the end of the month or the beginning of the next month. So this is something that you need to describe to yourself. What is the measure of impact that you're using, and how are you collecting it, and how frequently are you collecting it, and what systems have you put in place to help you collect it? There's a whole word bank here. I'm not going to go through them, but just know that this word bank is here for a reason. It is how you describe your impact without sounding lame, right? Without sounding like you are gloating or you are extravagant and you're just saying information that doesn't make any sense, or that it's like too big and it sounds made up. There's all kinds of things that people tell me the language trips them up. And so these are some words that you can pull from in this word bank to help you describe the things that you do in a way that conveys impact. And there's a variety of different types of words in here, and different types of feelings they convey for you when you see the words. But just know that you want to write in an engaging fashion to the audience that you select, right? So who are these audience members? Let's talk about that. It could be funders, donors, clients, partners, civic leaders, competitors, employees, anybody who you want to convey your impact to, right? So your bottom line, your time off, your marketing, your social media followers, all of these things that are reasons why you want to convey your impact. And of course, never forgetting that your friends and family, and of course your mom, are people who want to see you succeed. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to incorporate the people that we have in our daily life, and we convey our impact to them as well. The way that we do that is to select some sorts of mechanisms to communicate with these people. That could be through video, it could be through written. Usually people in large organizations prepare annual reports and put together information that goes out on a regular cadence. So every March you receive an annual report from this organization, and it demonstrates how the organization has done really good work in the past, January to December, right? So there's the annual report format, which a lot of people are probably very familiar with. Your website is another place to put this information, as well as any social media or any fundraising campaigns that you might have. If you're trying to engage your employees and you have employees, employee updates are great places to talk about the impact that you're having, to continue to inspire people to do good work in your organization. The annual board meeting that you have, or any kind of advisory committee meetings that you have. And then if you have, this should say volunteer campaign, not campaign. That's funny. And it's so funny. I didn't even realize that till I just saw that. Sorry. New version coming out soon. But the point is, don't be the best kept secret. So you are here to be conveying your impact to important people through mechanisms that will engage them, and you want to make sure that those mechanisms are easily accessible to them as you have the information to give them. So as you have new information, you can always put out information and updates. If you are cataloging information for an entire year and giving it out, you can choose multiple ways to convey that information. It doesn't have to be in the same format. So all of this is stuff for you to decide as an organization or as a leader on how best to display your work. Now, what are you displaying? Well, there's a couple of things that we want to talk about when you are conveying your impact. We want to say, why does this matter, right? The answering the so what question is really important. So what I gave you here is a way and a formula that you can use to think about your impact and describe it to other people. And the formula basically goes, hey, here's our organization. We serve these people, and that's really important because of this, right? We help solve this social problem. Like, okay, care about us, we're important. Then it goes, hey, we have invested as an organization in these kinds of outcomes, and this is what we're seeing as we're making that investment. And together, if you are working with us and doing XYZ call to action, we'll get to these other awesome outcomes, right? So more awesome outcomes to come, but we need you to work with us. And so it's a really easy way to convey need, that there is a need for what you're doing, convey expertise that you are solving this problem in this way and it's working, convey your outcome information that can otherwise sound dull if it's just a boring data point, and then inviting these people that you were asking to be part of your community to join you and telling them what they get if they join you, right? Like that they're contributing to this other thing. So very simple, simplistic formula for describing your impact to people, but it's super powerful because it gives you all of the main components. What are we doing? How are we doing it? Who are we doing it for? Why does this matter? And what kinds of outcomes are we seeing? These are important questions for most people who want to invest in you to understand in order to give you that investment, whether that is time, people, money, or money and donations, right? Donations and I can't even remember. Oh my gosh, I forgot my own framework. That's so funny. It is, let's go back to it. Dollars, people, time, and donations. I said money, but it should have been dollars. All right, so how do we tell our story? Well, we can just outright tell our story. We can also tell the story of people we serve through vignettes or testimonials. We can tell success stories or stories of overcoming hardship and challenges. We also can tell stories about how we've made certain decisions that have resulted in growth. So really tying in the aspects of our work with the outcomes that we're seeing. The last part of this tip sheet is something that is for you as homework to do after this video. And this just walks you through the main components of understanding what you need to know about your organization to convey your impact. Now, there's so much more in here that this is not going to equal a annual report. If you fill this tip sheet out, that is not what this is. This is just for you to start brainstorming how you're going to describe your impact with the audience that you're focusing on. So I probably easily could have said, what's your target audience right up front on the top of this, but what I want you to think about when you're filling this out is that this is for a particular audience that you've selected with a particular mechanism that you were thinking about conveying your impact through. So if we stick with the annual report and we say that this is our target audience of board members, you're going to re-describe to them your organization serves. You might want to re-describe to them the vision and mission of the organization so that they know that they are still congruent as a board member with what you were doing for your vision and your mission. It's all still the same purpose, right? Then you would talk about what your impact is and what's happening this year. So our impact is measurable and it's measured in this way, and these are the data points that we're seeing right now from this year, right? So if it's the annual report, you're aggregating all of the information for a year and you're conveying to the board that you've seen growth or success in an annual phase through the data that you're sharing, right? So you're choosing the mechanisms that you're putting into this communication tool that you're giving them so that they can get the information they need to make decisions for you as a board. Then if you're saying one unique thing about my organization, this really gives the life to the story, right? So talking about what differentiates differentiates you between other organizations or organizations that do the same thing as you, or even what differentiates, why I can't say that today, differentiates you in your marketplace of the type of social services you provide or the type of social impact that you make, right? So talking about why your organization is unique helps people connect with your brand identity and what it is that you do, or the particular way that you do something. And then the last part is our most effective strategies. We want to talk about our most effective strategies because it's the way that we convey that we are successful, but also put our best foot forward, and also do that in a way with integrity so that people know that they can trust the information. So when we're talking about our effective strategies, we want to highlight those, right? Now, we could be completely transparent as an organization and highlight our non-effective strategies as well if we want to in an annual report. For our board members, that's actually entirely okay to do. But we want to just make sure that up front, where we're conveying our best foot forward, that we're talking about the things that are effective in getting to the outcomes. So we're not saying, okay, we got to this outcome, but we used this vastly ineffective strategy to get there. That's not what we want to do. We want to say we got to this outcome, and the ways that we got there were by doing this. And the way that this logic works is when you invest more heavily in things that work and divest from things that don't, you'll get better outcomes. So if you're communicating to people that you want to support your work, hey, I'm doing this outcome, I'm getting this outcome by doing this thing, and we want to do more of it, it makes a better logical sense when they start seeing results of that investment come back and get more and more outcomes, right? If they make the investment in the strategies that don't work and then they don't see outcomes later, they're not going to invest further in the future. So you really have to think about this. What are you conveying in effective strategies, and how do you use that to start moving the flow of resources to you in the way that you want it to be? So that is our lesson for the day, and how to discuss your impact, how to convey your impact, and how to talk to the audiences that matter the most for your business or your nonprofit, and how to make sure that they are informed of what you're doing and that you can use this information to grow and to become a more sustainable organization. Hope you learned something new. Let me know if you did. Drop me a line, and I am excited to have you as part of the community. I'm excited that you're using this resource, and I thank you for what you're doing for your community to make the world a better place.